9 of the Tea and Possibilities podcast. I'm Nikki and this is a podcast all about knitting, crochet and making all the things here in Northwest London. You can find me on Instagram at hippie_Nikki. I'm Nikki Hippie on Ravelry, and if you search for Tea and Possibilities under the groups tab on Ravelry, you will find our group right there. I have a chatter thread for every episode, and everything I talk about you will find a quick link to just down below, and if you like juicier show notes, I have those on my blog and a link to that is below as well. As always, a massive thank you and welcome to any new viewers. I really appreciate you giving the podcast a shot. And again, thank you to my returning viewers. You come back every episode and I massively appreciate it, I really do. Before we take a look at my tea, I just want to let you know, I did mention I would try and get my nan on every other episode or so. Unfortunately, I asked her if she wanted to be on today's episode as she wasn't on last week's, and she said, well, no, because we've got the dog coming, so I'm just gonna hang out with her instead. Basically, we dog sit for my aunt and my cousin. They have a standard Yorkshire Terrier, and whenever they go away, we dog sit for them. Her name is Rosie, and she is arriving at some point today, so I might dash out to say hello myself because she's adorable and I love her to bits. And my nan has chosen the dog over being on the podcast. She also said she is working on her new sock. Her very first sock, I should say, not her new sock, and she is looking forward to coming back on when she's finished it so that she can show it. But she will be back. She's got her priorities right, what can I say? Today's tea, I wanted to showcase another Bird and Blend tea from the box they sent me. They very kindly sent me that for free as a gift, but unfortunately, I couldn't resist the allure of the carrot cake tea. So this is carrot cake, which is the same as I had in the last episode. It's actually the last of the packet that I had. So when I go online to link to it, I will be checking if they have any in stock and I will be buying some because this is absolutely delicious. It is quite grey and quite rainy out. What is a podcast without a little weather update, as Amy Florence of Stranded would say, but I just wanted the one that I knew I loved so much, and it's so spicy and warming and I just really wanted it. So I will share hot cross bun next time. Also, something that I have never actually shared in 59 episodes, occasionally I have snacks. Because I am English, and when you have a cup of tea, it is natural to get yourself a biscuit. I don't every time, but today I thought, oh, I'm gonna have a biscuit with my tea. So I've got like a little plate of goodies. So I've got a little angel cake slice, a bourbon, which is like ultimate, I love a bourbon. A chocolate covered digestive. This is milk chocolate. It's not my favourite. My favourite biscuit of all time is a dark chocolate digestive, but you know, this will do in a pinch. And then probably my second favourite biscuit of all time is a malted milk. So there you go, that's an insight into my little tea and biscuit routine. Well, that's a lot of blather for the beginning of the episode really, isn't it? Start as you mean to go on, right? But now let's move on to what you're all actually here for. Let's go to Whipped Up. Oh boy, I have got something to show you today. Before we dive into the stuff I have to show you, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my knitting this year. Long-term viewers of the podcast will know that finishing stuff, not really my strong point. I'm not one of those podcasters who will have, you know, big projects to share every other episode. I'm looking at you, Amy Florence, because Amy in particular seems to crank out a sweater a month, and I really don't know how she does it because she works so hard. I have no idea how she manages it. But yeah, that was never me. I'm not really a finisher. But this year I really wanted to finish things. I wanted to clear out some of my long-standing whips. I wanted to actually see things in my wardrobe so that I could actually wear them. I wanted to make sure presents were finished and delivered on time. So that was my kind of goal, resolution for this year, was to finish more. Now that has meant that my pool of WIPs is very, very small. I've got my 2 big ongoing projects, which is my crochet stripe blanket and my Cozy Memories blanket, which I pick up sporadically. I am doing my best to do a little bit of work on each every week, but it doesn't always happen. And apart from that, I've just been going through all my WIPs and trying to finish them. And that has resulted in a couple of finished pairs of socks. I have finished some baby garments and gifts for my friend. I have finished quite a lot this year. And as of yesterday, I have finished 8 objects this year, which is really good going for me because I think I barely scraped 10 last year in total. But this one I am particularly proud of, and I'm sure you can guess which one it is. It's my pavement! It's finally finished. This is the Pavement by Vera Valimaki. It is knit out of Industrial Kingfisher by Stranded Dye Works in her merino nylon base. And I have been working on this for so long. When I bought it, the base was called, I think, Oasis, before she changed over to kind of more explanatory names for her bases. Babbling because I'm so excited, but it's finished. I've got arm 1, arm 2, and a body. It's finished. Now I'm going to do some scene setting for you. I'm going to front with you, I have barely anything else to show you as far as WIPs go this week, because I was so focused on getting this done. I mentioned in the last episode that I didn't want to cast on another sock until I'd finished this one, because I know that I reach for socks. You know, I'm sat there on a Friday night watching RuPaul's Drag Race and I'm knitting on a sock. God, I'm a party animal, aren't I? Sitting on a Friday night knitting a sock watching RuPaul, gosh. I used to go out partying. I'm actually quite a lot happier now, to be fair. But I reach for a sock because it's straightforward, it's easy, I can see progress like that. And that was a really bad click, wasn't it? I don't click well. Like, I would suck. If I was Thanos, or if I was one of the Avengers trying to save the world, you'd all be stuffed, I'm sorry. God, so many tangents today. Wow, so many tangents. Back on track, I'm back in the room, I'm focused. What I love about socks is that I can knit and knit and knit and knit and knit, and then after I've watched my program for an hour or however long it is, whether it's a film or whatever, I can look down and I can see a chunk of work, and that's really satisfying to me. I was also working these sleeves on Magic Loop, which I find I don't like as much because it's a garment. I mean, I say because I haven't got enough garment experience to know if this is the norm. I wasn't on particularly small needles despite the fact I was using fingering yarn. So because the needles were a little bit bigger than I was used to with socks, I found that pushing the stitches back up onto the needle to knit was a bit of a pain. It wasn't as fluid as it was with socks. That's probably me doing something wrong, but to be honest, I think I will invest in some short circulars to do sleeves like this in future. That's probably me. I probably need more practice with it to get my tension right or something, but probably I'm just gonna buy some short circulars. It'd be handy to have some specifically for sleeves, and I think just going round and round and round and round and round and round and round without magic looping, I would probably be happier with. I'm gonna try it anyway. I'm gonna try it and I'm gonna see which method I prefer. So there we go, that's what's gonna happen. But what I'm getting at here is, despite all of the work that I did on Pavement over the past couple of weeks since the last episode, it's been pretty much the only thing I've worked on. But I still, yesterday, which was Saturday, today is Sunday, I still hadn't finished it. And I had volunteered to help a friend with her daughter's 2nd birthday party. So I was helping with decorations and helping out like that. And I got up and I gave myself like an easy morning on Saturday. Like I watched, no, I didn't. I think I listened to Rex Factor. I'm having a bit of a binge moment again with Rex Factor while I catch up on the second half of their Scottish series, so that I can be in time for their new series, which is fairly new. So I'm fingers crossed I should be caught up very soon. And I treated myself to an hour in bed with the latest episode I was on, worked on the sleeve, and still hadn't got there. Off I went to the kids' party. I then went to the gym straight afterwards because it actually was in my local sports centre. So when I came back, I was pretty tired. I was thinking, oh, you know, I could go to sleep at 9:30. That'd be really nice. Yeah, I'd love to go to sleep that early. Again, party animal, party animal. But then I measured my sleeve and I realised I was about 3 centimetres off of finishing it. I say finishing it, I mean before I needed to do the garter stitch cuff. And I just thought, 3 centimetres, how many rows is that? I could do that, I'll just do that. And then obviously having done that bit, I realised I only needed a little bit of cuff to do. Why not just do that? So I listened to a lot more X Factor. I got a lot further than I thought I was going to have got by the end of this weekend. But I did not get my early night, but I did finish it. So I'm kind of a little bit annoyed actually that I finished it so late, so I couldn't, I mean I could have woven in the ends, but I was so sleepy, I just didn't want to. As soon as it was done, I bound it off and just folded it up and put it away in the project bag. So I still need to weave in the ends and I need to block it, and as soon as I've done that, I'm really hoping that the next episode won't be an absolutely blazing day so that I can wear it just long enough to show you what it looks like, because I haven't even tried it on yet. So that's really exciting. And as I said, if this turns out not to be the most flattering in my opinion, or if it doesn't fit quite as well as I want to, that will be absolutely nothing to do with the pattern. I've seen these pavement jumpers look absolutely incredible on so many different body types. It will absolutely be my fault. However, saying it'll be my fault sounds kind of negative, and I don't mean it to, because all this means is this is my first jumper in a long while. As I said, I made my first one back in like 2014 or 15, like a significant time ago, and it didn't turn out very well. So this is really my first jumper in a very long time, the first of what I'm hoping to be several. So all it is just lack of practice. I don't really know what works for me. I don't know much about, you know, fitting or anything like that really. So anything that's wrong with this is just things that I can go, okay, so I need to take more attention. I need to do more research. I need to understand that more for next time. So however this looks, I am going to be happy with it. I'm going to be so happy with it. I love it so much. Look how gorgeous it is. And I finished it. I finished it. I finished it. I'm just so happy that I finished it. I'm looking forward, next time I do a garment in the round, I'm looking forward to trying the helix method. I believe that's what it's called. A lot of people mentioned it to me when I was talking about this when I first cast it on, because at the back I was swapping yarns. So I had, because it's indie dyed yarn, Amy had recommended, Amy of Stranded, who dyed this yarn, recommended alternating skeins. And I found I've got kind of like a seam down the back. I don't know if you can see that. And I think a lot of that showing up is the fact it's the first time I've done it. It's just, you know, beginners really, and with more practice that would improve. But also I have had people say the helix method is incredible and that I should try that out. So I definitely want to try that next time I knit something in the round. I do kind of feel like I have the garment bug at the moment. I'm really excited now that I have finished my pavement to cast on, work on my Kerry Town. It's already cast on, and I'm excited to make that kind of my chunky stay-at-home project because the cabling is quite intense. But I'm also considering casting on the back as my kind of take-along knitting. So we will see. I will hopefully not take quite as long to finish Kerry Town. So the only other project I have been working on these last couple of weeks is my cozy stripes, which you can see just here in the basket. And I'm not going to fish it out because I think I did maybe half a row to a row. So it's not much different to what you last saw. And it's a lot to kind of be pulling out just to show you one row. However, there is some stuff that I really want to talk about. Now the first is, as I said, I think I've got a little bit of a garment bug, and I am definitely going to be working on my Kerry Town, but because that's quite complex, it's a cable jumper, it'd be nice to have something a little bit more simple on the needles. So I'm going to be making a mama vertebrae out of this. Now I knit the baby vertebrae twice. It's by Kelly Van Niekerk and I absolutely loved it. And I thought the mama vertebrae would just be so versatile. I live in England and the weather can be very up and down. So it would be quite handy to have a really light throw-on cardigan that isn't like a big wraparound one, but just kind of covers you up if there's a little bit of a chill in the evenings. And I bought this yarn absolutely ages ago. So this is Yarn Collective. It's from the collection curated by Carol Feller. It's their Bloomsbury DK and it is in copper. And it is beautiful. And I bought this back when I first started at Love Knitting. So I've had it a couple of years now. But, you know, I don't work there anymore. For those who don't know, I worked there from 2017 to 2018, and I bought that when I worked there. And I bought this originally to make the gingerbread jumper by Libby Johnson. And I do still want that jumper very, very much, but I really want to cast on the Mama Vertebrae. And I just think that this would make such a good, useful cardigan. Because it's brownie. It's, in my opinion, a neutral, so it'll go with most of my colours. I wear a lot of like jeans and I wear a lot of blues and this kind of purpley colour. So this will be a really good addition to my wardrobe. And then I potentially will buy some more in order to make the gingerbread because I'm ridiculous like that. Also, I'm trying to knit out of stash and I'm very, very excited at the idea of knitting the Mama Vertebrae and I want to cast it on really, really soon. So why not dig into stash and use this? So that's going to be my next garment cast on. But for those of you who have been as excited as I have been about the Summer of Socks cowl, it is coming. So I mentioned the Summer of Socks cowl ages ago, it feels like, and I remember at the time thinking, we'll talk about it later, like it's months away. It's 2 weeks away. It's actually less than 2 weeks. The Summer of Socks cowl will be starting on the 1st of June and it will be running to the 31st of August. And the idea is literally just knit some socks. Knit as many and as varied pairs of socks as you want for 3 months. My thinking is that it gets pretty hot. It can get very, very hot in the UK during the summer. And I don't probably want to, you know, work on big chunky jumpers and things like that. So socks are a really, really handy thing to do. So let's have a Summer of Socks. Now, as I said, today is Sunday, and when this episode goes out, it will be early in the week. So we have got less than 2 weeks to get preparing, guys. Less than 2 weeks. But you know me, I am now, having gone from someone who just couldn't wrap her head around how to make a sock, I am now completely and utterly sock-cessed. And that means I already have plans for the Summer of Socks and I'm going to share them with you right now. I've also been really grateful for the amount of people who have contacted me about supporting the Summer of Socks cowl, and I think that I'm going to ultimately have 3 or 4 really, really good prizes which will contain like a project bag, a pattern and some yarn and some like little accessories. So I will, as soon as I've got them all, I will pull them together and I will show them on a later podcast. But if you have been one of the people that has contacted me to donate something for the Summer of Socks cowl, thank you, because it is so kind and generous of you to do that and to provide prizes for a knit along, which I couldn't do on my budget on my own, so thank you. So what will I be making for the Summer of Socks cowl? Well, I have this basket full of goodies. And first of all, I love this basket. Some friends got it for me for my birthday. And it's seagrass, and I love the smell of seagrass. If they made like a room freshener or a candle that was just seagrass, I would buy that. I would buy that constantly. Is there a Yankee Candle that's seagrass? If there is, can you let me know? Because I want that. I want several of them. I will live off that. But anyway, so in this basket, I have my favourite, very budget-friendly sock yarn, which is West Yorkshire Spinners. And I say budget-friendly, that's friendly for my budget. It's one of the cheaper yarns that I have for socks. I really love it. I think the quality is great. I think the price point is really good. And for me, it is a great addition to my stash. And I have their last 3 years of Christmas sock yarn. So this is Hollyberry. It's quite a traditional, the dark greens, the reds and the whites. And then we've got Candy Cane, and this came with a little contrast colour for heels, toes and cuffs. And this is a little bit more modern. It's a brighter green and a brighter red. And then we have this one, which is Vintage Fairy Lights, which has got blues and pinks in as well. And it's more modern, but it also reminds me of my 90s Christmases. So it reminds me of all like the vintagey, baubles and ornaments that we had in the tree. It reminds me of that very particular kind of 90s era of like the fairy lights and stuff. I think we had coral for the longest time that had little like plastic flowers that you screwed on top so that they looked like, I mean, I say flowers, I think they're meant to be snowflakes. Anyway, this reminds me very much of my Christmases of my youth. And I have been very heavily influenced by Amy of Stranded. Again, I think I mentioned this on the last podcast where I said, is it okay, Amy, if I copy you shamelessly and knit myself 25 pairs of Christmas socks? And she said, fine. So I thought, what better time than the summer of socks to start my Christmas box. So I'm going to knit these up, and they are all going to have contrast heels and toes. I think these two are going to have the red, and I do have some more red here. But for the vintage Christmas lights, I'm going icy blue. I don't know what colour this is. Doesn't actually say, which is annoying. But I will be putting blue heels, toes and cuffs into my vintage Christmas lights. So these are my vanilla socks for the cow. So that's 3 vanilla socks that I've got kind of in reserve, ready and waiting to go. I will probably cast on one of these this afternoon while I get editing, because I haven't had a sock on the needle for a while and I'm missing it. I miss it. But I want the summer of socks to be an opportunity to push yourself out of the comfort zone a little bit. There aren't going to be really any rules for the cowl. I think it's literally going to be, you have to have cast on 1st of June or later. I don't even care if you finish, to be honest. So we will just pull prizes from the chatter thread. That was a use of the royal we there. It's going to be me. I will random number generator. I will random number generator some prizes from the chatter thread. You don't have to finish. You can cast on as many as you like, just so long as they're 1st of June or later. A bit different for me looks like patterns. So I have been working pretty much exclusively, I mean completely exclusively, on vanilla socks, and I feel pretty good about my vanilla socks. But it would be great to do some pattern socks. There are so many fantastic patterns out there. I really want to just broaden my horizons. So first up, I am going to actually use my Stranded sock sets, which I bought for myself at Unravel. Which I think was at the end of February, because it was just before my birthday and I got them as a birthday treat for myself. So I got these 2. Now this here is Circus Tent and Rust, and this is going to grow up into a pair of I Love You More Than Pumpkin Spice socks by Cece Arman of the Geeky Girls Knit podcast. And the reason that I think the colours just work. Firstly, I think they're absolutely perfect, and also I love the pattern because I really do like kind of the autumnal, Halloween-y, pumpkin russety time of year. And also, I'm not a big coffee drinker, so the only time I really drink coffee is when there's pumpkin spice. I'm one of those girls. So it seems appropriate that I would knit myself some really lovely pumpkin spice socks. So there we go. That's going to be one of the patterns I want to try this year. The second one is Ice Skating Party with a violet contrast here, and these are going to be the Rose Hip socks by Yarnia Designs. I love Yarnia Designs. I think she has some really beautiful patterns, and this will grow up into those. And then we have my other purchase from Unravel, and this is Third Volt Yarns, and this is in the Binti colorway on her companion 4-ply. And if you remember when I showed this off on that episode, I talked about how serendipitous this was, because I was reading the Binti trilogy at the time, so being drawn to this and then clocking the name was just, it felt like fate. I had to have it. And I really wanted to do something a bit unusual, a bit sci-fi, and I actually had a look at Cece Arman's patterns again, because she's a geeky girl knit. So she does a lot of Doctor Who patterns. I think she's done some Battlestar Galactica. So I thought, well, that could be a good fit. However, none of those felt unusual enough for me. And then I came across one of her newer patterns, which is called Brackets Landing, and I believe it's inspired by where she's now living, now that they've left Edinburgh. And what I like about it is it's got this kind of long cable going round from the back round. I can't describe it, so I will link to it, and it just looked really unusual. It reminded me of like the tentacles of some of the aliens in Binti, and I'm trying really hard not to give anything away here about what happens in the book. And I just thought it felt like a really good partnership. So that is what these are going to grow up into. So there we go. That is my summer of socks plan. One thing I will say about the vanilla socks is I would like to try and do 2 at a time with one pair and maybe toe up with the other pair, just because I haven't tried those before and it's a way to mix up my vanilla socks. And again, I want to push myself a little bit with this cow, out of my comfort zone, try new things, just learn new techniques. It's a great opportunity. However, it is worth noting that I have 6 pairs of socks. It is a 3-month cow, and 2 pairs of socks per month is totally doable, but I am going to try and work on garments as well. So ideally I would like to have at least 1 patterned sock finished, preferably 2, and the same for vanilla socks. I'd like to have at least 2 pairs finished there. So I'm going to aim for 4 finished objects for this cow. Don't hold me to it, because we've already talked about my finishing ability. We are 2 weeks out from the beginning of the cow, but I am going to start the chatter thread now so that we can start talking about what our plans are, what yarn we're going to use, what patterns we're going to use. I know a few of you have already mentioned to me that you've started pulling out some patterns and some yarns, so I would love to see that. So let's get excited now. You can also share them on Instagram. I'm not sure what hashtag yet. SOSKAL 2019 is coming to mind. I will check if that's in use, but I will put it up on the screen now so you can share all of your summer of socks plans there, and then during the actual cal itself you can use that hashtag to share your whips, hoes and foes. So there we go, that is it for Whipped Up this week. I haven't got much done, but I finished a jumper, so happy days. So let's move on to Knit and Natter. As my nan decided not to join me for Knit and Natter this week. Side note, dog still has not arrived, otherwise I would totally be stealing the dog instead. I thought I would talk about my most recent challenge that I did. I mentioned it on the podcast last episode. I've also talked about it on Instagram, but I did the Walk for White. This is my medal. I wasn't expecting to get one because I thought it was a big fundraising thing, so they weren't going to do medals. But they do. I have wanted to do this for several years. One of my friends lives in Portsmouth. For those who have watched every episode, thank you, and I'm sorry. But you will know that when I started this podcast, I was living in Portsmouth. And my friend who lives in Portsmouth has done the Walk for White every year for, I think she said she's done it for 8 years. And I've always wanted to do it, and circumstances have always just got in the way. I've never been available to do it. And this year I decided that as I was going to be available, I was going to book it in early and do it. And I did. Now there were going to be a couple of people joining me on the walk who unfortunately couldn't make it. So I did end up doing the walk on my own. And that was a real experience for me. Usually whenever I go anywhere, whenever I do anything, I usually have like a pal or somebody along with me. But having done my half marathon on my own, I really enjoyed that challenge, and I was really excited to do this on my own as well. Now essentially it is you walk from one side of the Isle of Wight to the other. I think it's from Bembridge to Allen Bay, and off the top of my head I think it's about 26.5, maybe just over that miles. So it's ever so slightly longer than a full marathon. And I know when I checked my Fitbit at the end, I think I had done around 28 miles once you calculate getting to the start and then getting back to the B&B at the end. So yeah, I'd done quite a lot of walking that day. The day itself was absolutely perfect. I couldn't have asked for better. It didn't rain, there wasn't a cloud in the sky for most of it, and it was beautifully warm and sunny, but without being absolutely blazing. My body, to my surprise, recovered really well. I think I was a little bit stiff on Monday and Tuesday, but once I got walking, like I went back to work on Tuesday, and I walked to the train station on Monday, and I was fine once I got walking. Just sitting for a bit too long, was a little bit stiff. The only part of my body that kind of is still feeling it a little bit is my feet. Apart from anything else, they are very, very skinny. So I have found throughout my life that they blister quite easily. Now, I have a pair of hiking boots that were very, very good. I'm so glad that I got them. And I have my hiking socks, and I think I was fine up until about mile 20, 21. And then I think just the heat and the friction and a lot of the downhill, I actually found going uphill a lot easier. I will go uphill all day long. Going downhill, I did not enjoy. And unfortunately, that was where I ended up with blisters just on the tip of my big toes. So the rest of my feet are fine. I normally get heel blisters, but yeah, my toes pretty blistered. So I'm still kind of like trying to love them, trying to give them all the tender loving care that they need. They're getting moisturized, they're getting massaged. As soon as they have recovered, they'll be getting a pedicure. So I think next year I will definitely double sock, and I will probably wrap my toes just to give them a little bit more cushioning against the head of my boots. I did some Googling, and apparently that is the best thing you can do when there is a lot of downhill in your hike. And yeah, I'm doing it again next year. There were about 3 to 4 miles in the middle there where I was just like, ugh, I'm so done. I just want to stop. I want to go to the loo. I want some water. I want to sit for 5 minutes. But I think 3 to 4 miles out of 26 plus is pretty good, if that was the only time I felt it. And the last 4 miles, to my surprise, felt amazing. They felt really, really good. I felt really good in my body despite the kind of throbbing in my feet. But yeah, it was generally just a fantastic experience that I would absolutely do again. And having done it on my own, that was also kind of awesome. I think it was about the last 6 or 7 miles I actually walked the whole of those with a little family. So there was a husband and wife, their 1-year-old and their dog, and they were lovely. They were from the island, and they were telling me all about, you know, their experience of living there, like the best places, why they do this every year, and that was amazing. And it was such an incredible thing to do it on your own, but everyone was really friendly. And they would get chatting to you and be like, oh, why are you doing it on your own? Where do you come from? Why do you want to do it at all? It's great. I really loved it. I had a great experience. Everyone's so friendly. And I would definitely do it again. I would love to do it with a group of people next year, just because it's a fantastic experience and it's so beautiful. Yeah, I think in total it took me about 9 hours of walking. And I finished closer to 10 because I think I took 3 breaks. But I would recommend it. If you are fairly fit, I would absolutely recommend it. You can do the first half, the second half. There's an 8-mile flat walk version, or there's the full thing. So I would love to do it with a gang of people next year. I'm already kind of dropping hints to my friends, like, come on guys, wouldn't it be great? And I mentioned to somebody I used to work with, who is a mad keen cyclist, that I would love to do a cycle because it's such a beautiful island. And he was like, yeah, they have a cycling festival as well. And apparently one of the events is you go all the way around the island, which I would absolutely love to do. I don't have a bike. I could hire one. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking for more of these really nice things to do. I say nice. I know a lot of you are going to be going 26 miles. Nah, that's not nice. But for me, that was fun. Well, that's probably all you're going to have to hear on the exercise front for a little while. My next half marathon isn't till October. I'm doing the Royal Parks. They have recently emailed about some training sessions that I'm kind of tempted to go and do. I don't know who I am anymore. I never used to be like this. Send help. But that's it for this week. It has been blathery, gabbly. The dog still isn't here, so sorry. No little cute dog selfies either. But I hope to see you in a couple of weeks for another cup of tea and some socks, because the Summer of Socks cow will have started. Take care. See you soon. Bye.